Hello, everybody. This is Colin Finkle, and you're about to hear a conversation that I had with Joshua Doty of Clokendagger. This is about brand consistency and how it really is fundamental to keep your brand consistent if you're going to build value up and build brand equity up in the long term. And I hope you get as much as I did out of this conversation. And yeah, so I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Okay, so I have with me Joshua Doty from Cloak and Dagger. Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Colin?
Not bad, not bad. Sunny day here. I guess we're both in the northeast. I guess you're a bit. Although you're in the mid. You're sort of mid country there, right?
Yeah, we're Midwest. We got like 4 inches of snow outside right now.
Oh, really? So
Yep.
I'm the Canadian, and you have the snow. I'm
Yep.
like a nice
Snow.
sunny day.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, that's different for me. I don't know what my identity is if I don't have if the Canadians don't have snow.
I'm sure it's on the way.
Yeah, exactly. Probably coming this way right as we speak. So, can you tell us a little bit about Cloak and Dagger, and that's your personal brand development firm?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Clokendagger is a creative agency that develops strategies, brands, and identities to promote your products and services while keeping your brand competitive and consistent. We offer four main services, each with their own list of capabilities. So our service tier number one is strategy, and this includes brand strategy, brand positioning, content strategy, and SEO strategy. Our service number two is branding and design, which includes brand development, rebranding, logo and ID systems, brand style guides and messaging, brand collateral, print design, and packaging design.
Wow.
And then our third tier is content marketing, and that includes copywriting, blogging, social media posting, infographics, e-newsletters, display ads, and press releases.
Oh, okay.
And then our fourth final tier for services is digital development, which includes website design and development, a little bit of UI, UX design, and content management systems such as WordPress.
Sort of end to end brand design and development and communications.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's good. So,
Yeah.
how do you personally define brand?
So I would say my personal definition of brand would be the day-to-day attributes that represent a business product or service. So the way that it looks, how it makes you feel, and what it sounds like. I try to think of a brand as a zodiac sign.
Okay.
So what are the attributes that make up who you are? The same analogy applies to a brand.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that how different zodiac signs have different archetypes and character traits and personalities. Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I can also explains how two different brands in two different industries can be comparable because they might share different personality traits and qualities.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, cool. I never thought of it that way. That's
Yeah.
that's interesting. So what clients have you worked with?
So, we've worked with startups, small to medium-sized businesses, and Fortune 500 companies,
Hmm.
and that includes industries such as psychology consultants, hair salons, restaurants and bars, manufacturers and distributors, and nonprofits.
Hmm. Okay, so like pretty diverse range of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, the What's your personal background? How did you come into being a brand builder developer?
Yeah. So, my background is in graphic design, web design, and marketing. So really, to start off, as a kid, I would draw for
Hmm.
hours, and in my sophomore year of high school, I learned Photoshop and Illustrator.
Hmm.
Um, so for most of my life, I've been, creating some sort of art. Um, for college, I attended Rochester Institute of Technology, where I majored in graphic design and minored in advertising.
Hmm.
And since then, I've spent 3 years at a digital marketing company, 3 years at a design studio, 7 years in counting as a design contractor, and 4 years in counting as founder and brand developer of Clokendagger.
Oh, nice. So you started out in the visual and creative side, and moved into the strategic and side. What made you, I don't know, look into that side of the business, the whole business?
I think over time, I kind of just understood that strategy is actually really important. When it comes to branding, it's not really just the design and the look of it, but it's really the thought that goes behind it. And if there is no strategy that's going behind your brand, then you don't know if it's really gonna have the right effects.
Mm.
So, depending on what your outcome is for your brand, are you trying to get new customers? Not all people are. I've had a client where they're like, we have enough customers, we don't want to build more revenue, but we want to gear our brand towards students that are coming out of college that are looking for jobs. And so, we did a whole strategy on how to gear towards new hires, to get to their business. And, that was just a different strategy than you would think. And, we had to kind of build the brand and kind of build the marketing plan kind of around new hires.
Hmm. Yeah, I have a client right now actually that she's a registered massage therapist, and her schedule is booked. Like, can't take any more clients. But I'm still working with her because she can get a better quality of client and sort of niche down into clientele that might appreciate her services more than current client. Um, but yeah, it's so interesting. I think people think that graphic design is just about making something look pretty, and I think maybe fair enough that most graphic designers aren't too deep into the strategy. Hopefully, that's been laid out for them, but it's nice to see another designer there that's really thinking strategically about what the goals of the business are and how design can achieve those.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and even some of the experience I have in the past for some of the companies I worked for, they didn't really have strategies set in place. So as the designer on the project, it just made it that much harder.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's another reason why I wanted to start up kind of my own agency here and really focus on the strategy. So there's not a lot of going back and forth with the client. You kind of have a set path up front, and then after that, it's just execution.
Yeah. No, I think you got to do that. When you're just working without a strategy, without a direction, just on aesthetics, there's just too much room for variation and opinion because you're really not valid against anything. So you think you're on a good track, and then somebody in the client's life says they're not feeling it, and then railed. Whereas if you have a strategy, it's like, okay, vision, colors to appeal to this market, we've got photography, evocative, this certain set of people. Yeah, it's just makes it everybody's rowing in the same direction when there's a strategy involved.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So as much as we could talk about strategy all day, we're here to talk about brand consistency. So you just contributed an article to B&B that was urging people to maintain a really high level of consistency. Just tell me, is brand consistency really as important as you made it out to be in the article?
Yeah, I would say brand consistency is very important, and I'm going to give 3 reasons here, at least 3 reasons. Reason number one is customer relationships. So brand consistency helps relate your products or services to your customers, and it conveys what you're selling, why you're selling it, and who you're selling to. Reason number two is perception. The more professional your brand looks, the higher the quality your products or services will appear to your customers. It's a badge of honor, and your brand must relate to your customers and services or products that you offer. And reason number three is longevity. Keeping your brand consistent over time gives more people more opportunity to recognize it. It also gives you more time to run your business because you won't be worrying about the effectiveness of your brand, therefore cutting down on design costs because you won't be rebranding every year.
Mm.
You'll have a solid, consistent brand that will hopefully last.
I don't know if people appreciate how expensive rebranding is, even just the loss of
Hmm.
brand equity, because you left so many people that were aware of your brand um, away because now you're not recognizable. So, what sort of
Hmm.
things are we talking about here? What do you need to maintain consistency of to have a consistent brand?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that your brand's logo, colors, photography, messaging, and tone of voice are consistent across all multiple touch points. For example, the styling of your social media posts should complement the styling used on your website, and the design of your website should reflect the design of your brochure or business card. Uh, they all work together. Now, that doesn't mean they need to look exactly the same. In fact, you don't want them to look identical. Instead, choose attributes that work well together. So, for a business card, use a solid color and a typeface from your website. For a social media post, use a photograph that's used on your website. You want variation, but you want to still keep it consistent.
Okay, so like a consistency of feelings and a few touch points, uh, not necessarily making everything look exactly the same.
Right. Yep.
So, just taking the perspective of a client here who might not know any better, like, can I just toss the same logo on it? Isn't that enough to make it consistent in people's mind? If my logo's there, then they know where it's coming from. Isn't that enough?
Well, are you Coca-Cola or Nike? I mean, if so, then yes, just slap your logo on a billboard and call it a day. But like most of us, we're not world renowned like them. So building a brand reputation will take time. And from a branding perspective, brand consistency is how you achieve that. The ultimate goal is to have customers recognize your brand instantly with just your logo. But you can't achieve this without first understanding your brand and keeping it consistent over time.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that even the big brands that have that amazing brand recognition still work very diligently to keep their brand consistent. Like brands like Starbucks and Ford adjust their products offerings around the world for regional tastes, but like the core of their brand and a lot of the specifics of their brand, like typefaces and logos, are consistent around the world. Do you know why they're working so hard to maintain this consistency?
Yeah, I mean, because it works, everything we've touched on so far today, these large corporations, they do it and they do it consistently. This has given them a reputation for selling quality products. And I'm going to give you an example here. Um, Abby can purchase a two-door economy car at the same dealership where Sam can purchase a four-wheel drive pickup truck. And the reason why is because both Abby and Sam know that having that Ford logo on their vehicle means they're in good hands.
So that consistency, well, speaks to the quality of the product and the quality of the organization, as well as uh, creates a consistent envelope that you can get multiple people underneath. That's
Mhm.
interesting. So, if an organization is really diligent about keeping their brand consistent, what benefits can they expect?
Well, they can expect a steady increase in brand awareness and returning customers, which can result in brand loyalty and increased profitability. So, building brand consistency may be a bigger investment upfront, but it will save you time and money down the road because the foundation of your brand will always be the same. And yes, you'll have to evolve your brand as design trends change, but you'll never have to start from scratch.
It's an evolution as opposed to a revolution.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
so, what tools do we have in our arsenal to help keep consistency at brand?
So honestly, I would say um, the number one tool, if not the only tool you really need to help maintain consistency, is to use a full brand style guide. So this document is the holy grail of your brand. It explains the who, what, where, when, and why of your brand, including your ideal customer, your mission statement, the design elements that make up your brand, like your logo, and so much more. And the great thing about this tool is that it can be used by just about anybody. Though it's meant to be used by internal marketing teams, an entrepreneur can use it if they're handling their own marketing. And the best place to purchase a full brand style guide is from a professional designer who understands your brand in and out.
Yeah. I think brand guides, especially moving forward, if the concept, like I think, I mean, the brand style guide, like a few years ago, was an actual book that sat in the office that you could look up stuff in fonts. And then
Mhm.
it sort of moved on to a PDF that was updated 18 whatever. Um, but now I think it's something that can be internal and external, and I think these even more benefits when you use it with external people, because you can bring in people from all around the world with all different specialties. They spend 15 minutes with this PDF or microsite, and got a crash course on your brand. They can they know how to best apply their skills and abilities to a way that fits your company, what image you're trying to project. Yeah, I think it's even more powerful when you think about it as a external tool.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's something that you can fall back on too. No matter what type of project or marketing plan you're working on, it's something you can always fall back on, for references.
Okay, so I can understand your organization with lots of scale, how investing a lot of time and money and meetings with between marketers and designers and design time into a really tight style guide is worth it. But do small businesses really need a brand style guide?
So I would say yes, even small businesses need a brand style guide, but it doesn't have to be as in depth as a full brand style guide. So I like to call these brand style sheets because they encompass all the important aspects of a brand on a single sheet. And many entrepreneurs like these because it gives them a cheat sheet on how to use their brand for marketing purposes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just need to be overly complicated. Um,
Hmm.
Even when I'm doing development for projects that there's no clients, just me, I'll just pop open a Google Slides presentation and just note all of the things that I need to refer back to in my brand, and simple as that. It doesn't be any more complicated.
Hmm. Yep.
Fonts and colors and
Right.
so. I mean, it's not realistic for expect every business to be 100% consistent, especially with SMBs that don't have the departments or manpower to maintain that. What's the minimum to make sure that it's consistent? Like, what what do we need to get? What's the basics we need to get on board before we can start reaching even higher levels?
Yeah. So listen, I would say you can't expect the same success as your competitors if your brand is not 100% consistent. You can't expect customer engagement, you can't expect brand loyalty, and you can't expect to stay competitive. Now, if you don't know where to even begin with brand consistency or you don't have time to do it, that's where people like us come in. And our job as brand builders is to make sure your brand stays consistent across all multiple touch points. And that's really the foundation of our creative agency, Clokendagger. We work behind the scenes on branding your business so that you can focus on running your business.
Yeah, you really need to have a mindset shift. Like a lot of people who start businesses and a lot of people in small and medium sized businesses, well, actually, no, every type of business, like nobody has the same skill set. And thankfully, there are people like you and me who live and breathe brands and uh,
Mhm.
brand personality. think about ways to increase the equity of our clients' brand. Um, so yeah, I guess you gotta lean on people like us to help
Yeah,
with it.
leave it to the professionals.
Yeah. And so there's really no table stakes is having a ultimately consistent, um, not not leaving anything um, to chance or anything like that. Like the talk to professionals, show them people, ask them if they can take 15 minutes to make it more consistent with your brand. We're here to help, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
So beyond staying consistent, do you have any key advice for other brand builders out there?
I mean, brand consistency is super important. I mean, really, once you have that, everything else kind of comes together. Um, like I said before, too, like it's not really just encompassing your brand, but it's going to help you with future marketing campaigns and future projects that you may have within your company. So again, it really is kind of the foundation of your brand and for future projects you're going to work on. So I don't know if there's anything more important than brand consistency. I mean, you could have a really cool brand that, you know, looks great today, but next year it's not consistent. And I've seen it a million times. This is before I used to really um, give style guides to clients. I would create this awesome logo um, and a stationery set and brand collateral. I'd give it to them, you know, they'd get it all printed out. And then a year later, you know, I see their logo up on Facebook or something, and it's on like, you know, like a pink background
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. And it doesn't, it wasn't meant for that. And it's making their brand look bad. So again, like it was a great logo, but the way they were kind of portraying it, they weren't keeping it consistent to how I had designed it a previous year. Um, so really, I mean, brand consistency is super important out there, especially for brand builders. I suggest that if you're going to be doing a logo design project or identity project, you know, include the style guide, you know, in your quote and in your process. If the client really doesn't want it, just have something in there. Whether they want it or not, they're going to need it, and it's going to make your job easier because you know, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be coming back to you saying, hey, I need this file, or, you know, what font is this? I can't download it on my computer. So it's going to save you time in the end. And again, it doesn't have to be a full brand style guide, but at least have something that you can give them and include it in your process because it's going to make the job easier for both you and your client.
Mm. Yeah, there's almost like contractual element to it as well, where if you can agree on the style guide, you can fly through decisions, website and brochures and all of that, and cards, because you've already made all the decisions up front, following the style
Mhm.
guide.
Right.
Yeah, the I think if I could convey, if I'm on this earth to convey anything, it's that when you build a brand, you're building brand equity, and that's the value theoretically what someone would pay to buy your brand. Um, and if your brand is inconsistent, you're like, let's take an extreme example, using half a dozen logos and colors are all over the place and stuff. And I see businesses, particularly small businesses that otherwise would be really successful, um,
Mm.
look that way, and you can just see on your face of it, no one's gonna believe that has any value. Like consistency is really bedrock that you're building this brand equity on, because without consistency, what is it? Like it's just nothing. Like and then the other thing I was gonna just note before we kick off here, or leave off here, is funny thing happens when you're consistent and commit to consistency is you start to realize where the creative risks can be taken, where you can push the envelope. And you think, okay, if I'm nailing myself down to the style guide, then that takes all the creativity out of it. And it's kind of the opposite sense. Like Lego can only be put together a few ways, but you can make infinite things from Lego once you know the rules, right?
Hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So Josh, if somebody wants to reach out to you and solicit Cloak and Dagger, or just get some advice from you, where can they find you?
Yeah. So you can find us on the web by visiting clokendagger.com, where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. You can follow us on Facebook with the handle at Clokendagger. That's Clokendagger. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter with the handle at Clokendagger1, the number 1.
Okay, awesome. And
Yep.
I'm sure this isn't the last we've heard from you as far as brand marketing blog. I'm sure we'll hear from you again. And if we're lucky enough to have you contribute another article, we'll pop on and talk about it again.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, have a good day. Get shoveling that snow, I guess.
Yeah, I already got the snowboard gear ready, so I'm pretty excited for it,
Oh
actually.
yeah, y'all primed up. Nice.
Primed up for the season.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Colin. Take care.